I have been sitting in front of this thing for a long time. I didn't know what I wanted to talk about because I'm in this flow state right now and I just got back from the gym. Check this out. So I got this new audio recorder. I noticed that when I bought it, the microphones on it, I've never used directional microphones before, but apparently they're like super sensitive. So I got this little like fluffy thing, this little dead cat to go on the front, prevent the what they call plosives from like nuking the actual audio channel when I'm like pronouncing words with the letter P or pronouncing words with the letter S. I noticed that when I would hold this thing, not only would, the P's and the S's would spike the audio and make it almost unbearable to hear, but the recorder itself, when I was holding it, the vibrations would actually travel up towards the directional microphones and you can hear it. So I was like, man, so I can't like hold it the way I wanted to, but I was like, but what if I was to screw this little like magic arm onto the very front? And this has just been working nicely. It's a small rig magic arm. I actually had the crab claw on it break. I just had it laying around in my dresser. I was like, well, gotta put you to use, and here we are. So now that we're here, I have made a ramshackle lighting setup. I thought that it'd be a good time to talk about how people complicate lighting. So lighting, it is a rabbit hole and you can take it to extremes, but 90% of the time, you're only gonna really need 3 different light sources maximum, and anything on top of that is going to be up to taste, and which direction it's facing and how powerful it is going to be completely up to you. If you want to stick around to hear me ramble about some of the little details afterwards, go ahead, but I'm going to try and keep this short and sweet because you guys like it whenever I drop absolute bombs on here. So I have 3 lights in this room. One of these lights is over here. It's and by the way, the model doesn't matter. I want you guys just to think about the theory, like the direction it's going and what type of light it is. So I have a big soft light over here pointed at the side of my face. I wanted side lighting because I think side lighting looks the best, or Rembrandt lighting. I just like the way it looks. It's completely up to me. I'm not going to tell you that's what make things look cinematic. That's just what I like. So remember, doing things with intent is really important, okay? Fill light over here, really big light hitting the side of my face. Over this way, I have a smaller light that's less powerful. There's no modifier on it. It's just a directional light, and it's aimed at this side of my face. And the only purpose that light serves is to knock up the shadows right here on my face, right? And then we have another light over there that's casting the blue color behind me. When you're color grading, it makes it a lot easier to grade when everything is separated and segmented properly. So right now I have 5600 Kelvin light spilling onto me from 2 different directions, and that's completely independent of the light back here that's bouncing off this back wall. You can actually see it casting off my arm right now. And that light is too far away to actually reach me. So none of the color cast is actually making it to me unless I come really far back and I reach back here, and now my hand is being immersed in that blue light. But you're going for 2 things when you have lighting. You're going for luminance contrast, spatial contrast, and color contrast. Luminance contrast is going to be the difference between your lights and your darks. So a lot of people get obsessed with having a powerful light to reveal everything. The problem is you don't get any contrast when that happens. So sometimes you want your shadows to be intentional, like the ones on the side of my face right here. It gives my face dimension. Then we get the spatial contrast, and spatial contrast is just gonna be where you park your camera. Light, because of square law, you can look it up, loses its intensity. If that light back there behind me has to travel even further to get to me, it's gonna lose all of its power by the time it bounces off the back wall and doesn't even make it to me because it's being overridden by a light that's closer to me. So once you realize it's just a game of I'm pointing this arrow this way and that arrow that way, it becomes a lot easier. On top of that spatial separation, it's also where you park your subject too. It's not just where you park your lights and your camera. And it might sound really overcomplicated, but I'm in a fairly small room right now and I'm still making this work, okay? So you could get away with this literally anywhere. For those of you that say, well, I'm outside. Well, the sun is a big light source and it's free. So do the best with it what you can. You can even use the sun as the big light source that I have over here. It's not always going to be soft, and it's going to get softer as the day goes on. That's why you see all these YouTubers recording like early in the morning or late in the evening. And then we get color separation. Color separation is, okay, so I know my skin tone is more around the orange part of the spectrum. Since I'm aware of this, and I'm hitting myself with, I would say, like colder, if not neutral light. If I white balance for this, then if I put something colder behind me and everything's correct, then I won't have to try too hard when I'm color grading in post to make everything like pop to the eye. I know for a fact I'm shooting in color, so I'm going to, with intent, use the opposite color to my skin tone and park it behind me deliberately so that I get separation. There's other ways you can achieve this. Like if I wanted to change this to red, I could to make this an analogous palette. But like I said, everything is with intention, right? Which pivots me to the point of gurus overcomplicate this because they will introduce way too many light sources and try to use a lot of scientific jargon and try and sound smart. I mean, I'm not trying to dumb it down too much or insinuate that appreciating how complicated things can get isn't necessary. It's just you lose all the people that are new. All the new people, they can't process all of the information. You're just pouring way too much into like a mental cup in their head that can only hold so much at one given time, and then it just spills over and they don't retain any of the information. So you just got to put it simple so that you can then build off that strong foundation that you describe, and then they can start playing around with all the advanced stuff, because then they can express themselves creatively when it comes to the advanced stuff. Okay, I could talk about modifiers and types of lights all day, but it's just talking about the theory about it is so much more important. I don't see anybody doing that. Also, demonstration purposes, check this out. So look what happens when I remove this light right here, the one I have pointed at the back wall. So I didn't exactly turn it off, but I have it pointed at the ground, and you can see that I'm still separated, but my background is just fading into obscurity, and it isn't really interesting. And I might pop, but I only pop on like the black and white spectrum, okay? Like if this was black and white, it would probably make sense. I could shine a really dim light back there, but you get the point. Like it makes my job a lot easier when I shine that light. Also, I'm gonna remove this fill light over here, and you're gonna see that this side of my face is going to be, there's gonna be less detail. You can see how like changing the position and everything really does matter a lot. And then all we have is this fill light over here, and if that's all you have, that is perfectly fine. That is perfectly fine. That's so okay. No one's gonna look at your video and go, oh my gosh, he doesn't have 3 light sources pointed at him. I'm not watching this because it's so unwatchable. Here's the last tip. One second, let me put all these lights back up and I'll give you the last tip. All right, the lights are back up. So here's the last really cool tip. I don't want to say your image quality doesn't matter, but make sure your audio is good. Use whatever you got, okay? I just happen to have a field recorder right now. I used to use, oh my gosh, I'm getting tripped over my words. I used to use lavalier microphones, and that's great. And then I did more research, and I realized that I could be doing so much more with it, and that's why I have this, and that's why I created this. So sometimes you're just gonna have to like make things for yourself that fit your workflow, that just work, okay? Be crafty. And like I said, intent is everything. So I intentionally did all of this. Is it the best thing? I don't know. Anybody can contest me on that, right? But I could tell you right now that I did it in such a way that it's going to be easier for me to do my job as an editor after this, because I'm planning beforehand. So I guess that kind of wraps up the subject of the day. I just wanted to get across, you're overcomplicating your lighting. You're thinking way too much about it, and it's way easier than you think. Park it where you need to, but have intent with what you're doing with your camera, where you're sitting, where you are, and where you're putting the lights. Kind of segment that into little boxes in your head. I'm going to do this first, and then this, and then this, and then this. And before you know it, you're going to be done, and then it's going to become secondhand muscle memory every single time, okay? Also, one last thing I really wanted to include is, in this day and age, being good at this is cool, right? There's a lot of guys I know that record. That's awesome. Get past this as soon as possible. This lighting stuff, this camera stuff, learning how to use a camera, learning how to edit, how to light up stuff, learn how to use audio. But at the end of the day, it doesn't all matter if you're good at this if you aren't comfortable talking to an invisible audience. Your brand is attached to you at this point. So get good at talking to the camera. All right, that's it for today. I'm going to talk to you guys later. I have another video coming up, but yeah, that's it. See y'all later.